Good morning, dear students. So today we are going to discuss about some important concepts in crystallography. So you have already learned about the basic concepts in crystallography, the theory behind X-ray diffraction and all, and which are the X-ray diffraction techniques used for structure elucidation, right? So what you see here are single crystals of a coordination complex that was synthesized in the laboratory. So if we see the crystals like this, we have no idea what is the structure of which material, which elements it is made of, right? So for that we have to use some diffraction techniques. Using X-ray diffraction technique, you can determine the crystal structure, and find out which compound it is. Okay, so first, if the sample is polycrystalline especially, we can try powder X-ray diffraction, PXRD. So as you see here, we get peaks. So here two theta values are plotted against intensities. So this is the experimental one and this is the simulated theoretical one. Okay, so here you can see some background. Okay, so one of the method to get the crystal structure is measuring powder X-ray, right? Okay, this is done especially when the compound is polycrystalline, even single crystals are not available. Now we can compare this PXRD with simulated patterns of already published works or known compounds, and we can uh, find out whether they have similar structure or not. Okay. So in another method, as if we have suitable single crystals for measurement for performing single crystal X-ray diffraction. Okay, then we can directly reach to the structure of the compound. So you have already seen the single crystals of this particular coordination complex. Okay, so using powder XRD or single crystal XRD, you can reach up to the structure of a particular crystal. And we know these X-ray diffraction techniques are used in order to determine crystal structure, right? So in X-ray diffraction, we use monochromatic radiations of X-ray in order to determine the value of interplanar spacings, D value, okay, D value and also HKL values. From that, the unit cell dimensions like the unit cell length A, B, C and angles and volume, all these information can be obtained by X-ray diffraction of a single crystals. And the information required to determine the arrangement of atoms or ions within a unit cell is contained in the intensities of the diffraction spot. Okay, from the intensities of the diffraction spot, we can deduce all these required information. So I'm not going to discuss it in detail. I will just explain the notes that I have already shared with you, so it will be easier for you to learn it. Okay, so as we have already discussed, we use X-ray diffraction techniques in order to determine the crystal structure, right? Monochromatic radiations of X-rays are used, and by applying the Bragg's law, Bragg's equation, n lambda is equal to 2d sine theta, we can determine the crystal structure or the interplanar spacing D, because the lambda value is already known depending on which X-ray source we use. Okay, so for example, if we use copper source, the value of lambda would be 1.5418 angstrom. Okay, so depending on the source, X-ray source, we already know the lambda value, and this theta value can be found out from the diffraction experiment. Okay, so easily we can find out the D interplanar spacing value. That is a key for the determination of crystal structure. Okay, and the basic information is contained in the intensity of diffraction spots. Okay, so the intensities of X-ray reflections are very important. It's mainly because the intensities of X-ray diffraction would help us to know or it gives information about the quantitative measurement of intensity are necessary in order to determine unknown crystal structure. Okay, so by measuring the intensity of X-ray diffraction, we can understand or determine the crystal structure of unknown crystals. Then qualitative or semi-qualitative data are needed in using the powder method PXRD to characterize materials and identify unknown samples. So based on the intensity of X-ray reflections, we can directly determine the crystal structure by using single crystal X-ray diffraction techniques, rotating crystal method, right? Or by qualitative approach, we can find out the crystal structure or many related details about the crystal from powder XRD. So it is very important to know about intensity of X-ray diffraction and the factors contributing to intensity of X-ray diffraction spots. So as I told you, it is very important to understand the factors that would contribute or that would control the intensity of X-ray reflections, and for that we have to consider the intensity scattered by individual atoms and the resultant intensity scattered from the large number of atoms that are arranged periodically in a crystal. So we know a crystal, when we talk about a crystal, we should remember about crystal lattice and lattice points, right? So a crystal is made up of repeating units of unit cell that we know. Then going down, each unit cell is made up of motifs placed in crystal lattice, right? These motifs can be atoms, molecules or ions. Okay, so these atoms, molecules or ion, they would also contain electrons. Okay, so when we talk about scattering of X-ray by a crystal, we have to think about diffraction by unit cell, diffraction by atom or diffraction by electron. Okay, so to understand scattering from a crystal, we have to understand scattering from three levels: electron, atom and unit cell. For crystals, the unit cell repeats to give us a crystal, and hence all the information required can be obtained at the unit cell level. Okay, so first, when we think about electrons, we have to consider the polarization factor. Then when we think about atoms, it is atomic scattering factor. Simply we say scattering factor represented by small letter F. So scattering factor or atomic factor is the contribution of scattering from all the electrons. Then we have scattering from unit cell. Scattering from unit cell is known as structure factor. Structure factor, which is represented by capital F, normally FHKL. Okay. Now let us see scattering of X-rays by atoms. Atoms diffract or scatter X-rays because an incident X-ray beam, which can be described as an electromagnetic wave which has an oscillating electric field, sets each electron of an atom into vibration. Okay, so when an electromagnetic radiation like X-ray, it is an electromagnetic wave, right? When it is incident on an oscillating electric field, it sets each electron in an atom into vibration. It vibrates electrons in an atom. A vibrating charge such as an electron emits radiation, okay, which is coherent or in phase with the incident X-ray beam. The electron of an atom therefore act as secondary point sources of X-rays. So when a monochromatic X-ray beam is incident on an electron, when an atom we say it contains electrons, so when it is incident on an electron, the electrons are point charges, so they vibrate, and they vibrating charges, they emit electromagnetic radiations. These electromagnetic radiations are in phase with the incident X-ray. Okay, so electrons can be considered as secondary point sources of X-rays. The X-rays that are scattered by an atom are the resultant of the wave scattered by each electron in the atom. Okay, the electrons can be regarded as particles that occupy different positions in an atom, and interference occurs between their scattered waves. So, in a particular atom, there will be n number of electrons. So, when X-ray is incident on that atom, each electrons of that atom emits, okay, or vibrates, and they emit radiations, and the scattering by that particular atom would be the contribution of scattering by all these electrons. Okay, and there can be interference between the electromagnetic radiations emitted from each of these electrons. So in a crystalline material, we have periodic arrangement of atoms which are responsible for scattering, and the overall scattering from the crystal is a logical sum of scattering of X-rays by each and every electron present in that. Okay, so when we consider about a crystal contains unit cells, and in unit cells we have atoms placed on each lattice points, right? So when we talk about scattering from a crystal, we have to consider about the unit cells contained in that crystal, and atoms, ions or molecules present in each lattice points. Okay, so for example, if we consider a crystal having atoms at the lattice points, we have to consider about diffraction from scattering from each atom. Scattering from each atom would mean scattering from each electron of each of those atoms. Okay, so scattering from an atom would correspond to the atomic number of that atom. Atomic number of a neutral atom would be equal to the number of electrons, right? So scattering by an atom would correspond to the atomic number of that atom. So in this context, a new concept called scattering factor or atomic scattering factor, it is also known as form factor, was introduced, and this atomic scattering factor, or simply scattering factor or form factor, it is represented by small letter f. And atomic scattering factor is described as the scattering power of a particular atom considered. The scattering factor of an atom is proportional to its atomic number. So the scattering power of a particular atom is known as atomic scattering factor or form factor. It is represented by small letter f, and it is proportional to the atomic number of that particular atom, or the number of electrons present in that atom. In other words, we can say that the scattering factor F is proportional to the logical sum of scattering amplitudes from all the electrons present in the concerned atom. Okay, so the scattering factor or form factor F is proportional to the logical sum of scattering amplitudes from all the electrons present in that particular atom. So the atomic scattering factor can be defined as the ratio of the amplitude scattered by an atom to the amplitude of X-ray scattered by an electron. So what is atomic scattering factor? It can be defined as the ratio between amplitude scattered by an atom. Okay, that is amplitude scattered by all the electrons in an atom divided by amplitude of X-ray scattered by a single electron. So atomic scattering factor can be represented as F is equal to amplitude of X-ray radiation scattered by an atom. That would mean amplitude scattered by all the electrons in that atom, right? So amplitude of X-ray radiation scattered by an atom divided by amplitude of X-ray scattered by an electron. Hope it is clear. So what is the atomic scattering factor? When we consider scattering from an atom, we have to consider scattering by all the electrons present in that atom. Okay, so the scattering factor would correspond to, or it is proportional to, the atomic number of that atom, or number of electrons present in that atom, and it is defined as the ratio between the amplitude of X-ray radiation scattered by the atom divided by amplitude of X-ray scattered by each electron, or by a single electron. Okay, and now we have to see the relation between scattering factor and scattering angle. Okay, let us see. So as you see here in this figure, these radiations 1 and 2 are monochromatic X-ray radiations incident on 2 electrons, as you see here. This is an atom. So incident on these 2 electrons, and it can either propagate in the same way, right? 1 prime and 2 prime, or it can get scattered in an angle, making an angle 2 theta. So here, when it is scattered in this way, 1 dash and 2 dash, the angle theta is 0. Okay, so it is in phase with the incident radiation, and here it is making an angle of 2 theta with the incident radiation. So in the first case, when the scattering is like 1 prime 2 prime represented by 1 prime 2 prime, the scattering is in phase. Okay, all the electrons scatter in phase irrespective of their positions. These 2 electrons are scattered in phase irrespective of their position. So the scattering angle is 0, theta is 0, and all the scattered waves are in phase. Then the scattering factor of that electron is proportional to its atomic number, right? So there is no change. The scattered waves are in phase with the incident wave, so there is no change in intensity. Okay, so the scattering factor F would be proportional to the atomic number of that particular atom, or proportional to the total number of electrons present in that atom. If scattering occurs at a particular angle 2 theta, imagine so. For scattering at some angle 2 theta to the direction of the incident beam, a phase difference corresponding to the distance xy would occur. So there is a phase difference, right? That corresponds to the distance xy. X is between beams 1 double prime and 2 double prime. The phase difference is normally less than 1 wavelength. If we are using copper X-ray sources, then this xy, phase difference xy would be less than 1.5418 angstrom, which is the wavelength of K alpha X-rays from copper source. Okay, so the phase difference is normally less than 1 wavelength, as the distance between electrons within an atom are short. Therefore, only a partial destructive interference occurs between these 2 scattered radiations, 1 double prime and 2 double prime. Only partial destructive interference occurs. So the net effect of interference between the beams scattered by all electrons in the atom is to cause a gradual decrease in scattering intensity with increasing angle 2 theta. Did you get that point? So when the incident waves and the scattered waves are in phase, there is no change in phase. Okay, so the scattering capacity or scattering factor is proportional to the number of total electrons present in this atom, because there is no destructive interference. Okay, because the incident radiation and scattered radiations are in phase. So the scattering factor is equal to the atomic number of this particular atom. And imagine it is scattered by making a particular angle, say 2 theta, it can be any angle. So what happens? These radiations are out of phase, and there is possibility for partial destructive interference. This partial destructive interference would decrease the intensity. We are collecting the intensity on a disk, right, as a diffraction spot. So this partial interference would decrease the intensity of scattered radiation. As the 2 theta value or the angle of scattering increases, if it goes here, what would happen? The partial destructive interference would increase. Okay, so the intensity of scattered radiation decreases. So when the 2 theta scattered angle 2 theta is equal to 0, the scattering factor would correspond to the atomic number of the atom considered. For example, if we have considered copper, its atomic number is 29. So when the incident rays and scattered rays are in phase, that is the angle between them is 0, then a scattering factor would correspond to the atomic number itself. When the scattering angle is 90 degree, 2 theta is 90 degree, the F value experimental F value is 14. Okay, scattering factor has decreased. If the 2 theta value goes up to 120, the scattering factor again decreases to 11.5. So at higher scattering angles, the value of F goes below the value of Z. As you see here, as scattering angle increases, the value of F goes below the atomic number Z, right? Due to more and more destructive interferences. The reason is destructive interferences. When the incident and scattered X-rays are out of phase, there is possibility for destructive interferences, and the angle of scattering, as the angle of scattering increases, the extent of destructive interference between the incident and scattered rays increases. So there will be decrease in intensity of scattered radiation, and the structural factor F value goes below the atomic number Z. Okay. So this is due to destructive interference between the Z number of scattered waves from each and every electron. So each electron, if we say 29 is the atomic number, there will be 29 electrons, and 29 of these electrons would be scattering with a 2 theta value, and there will be destructive interference between all these scattered waves. Okay, so this in effect reduces the scattering factor. It is also evident that for a given angle 2 theta, net intensity decreases with decreasing X-ray wavelength. And the two consequences of the dependence of scattering factor F on sin theta by lambda and atomic numbers are described below. The powder patterns of most materials contain only weak lines at higher angles. What is the reason? Because as the angle increases, theta value or 2 theta value increases, what would happen? The intensity or scattering factor decreases, right? So powder patterns of most materials contain only weak lines at higher 2 theta values, generally above 60 to 70 2 theta values. So powder patterns are generally measured from like 2 theta value from 2 degree to 70 degree. That is a normal range where we measure. Generally from 5 theta we can measure, but when the compound is porous, there will be lower peaks. Okay, peaks in the lower 2 theta value. So normally 2 degree to 70 degree measurements are done. Above 70, normally the lines are very weak. This is mainly because of low scattering factor of atoms at higher 2 theta value. So one of the consequences, if we measure powder patterns above 70 degree 2 theta values, the lines obtained would be very weak. Next consequence is that during single crystal structure determination using X-rays, that is rotating crystal method, right? It is difficult to locate light atoms because their diffracted radiations are very weak. What could be the reason? We know the scattering factor F is proportional to atomic number, right? So if we have a hydrogen atom, Z value is very small. So the scattering factor of hydrogen would be very small. So when we are measuring a compound containing heavier atoms together with hydrogen, it will be very difficult to locate hydrogen atoms. Okay. So what we do is in the crystal structure measurement, when we are resolving the structure, we can see Q peaks. Okay. So we try to name these Q peaks, higher electron density Q peaks as hydrogens, and we check the scattering factor value, structure factor value, R value, etc. Okay, based on that we have to fix the positions of hydrogen atoms. So you just remember, since the atomic number of hydrogen atoms like hydrogens are very small, the scattering factor is very less. So it is very difficult to locate such lighter atoms during single crystal XRD measurements, especially in the presence of heavier atoms. So these two are the consequences of higher scattering angle during X-ray diffraction. In powder pattern, above 70 degree 2 theta value, the lines of spots are very weak. In single crystal measurements, atoms having lower atomic number Z value are very difficult to locate. So let us summarize everything that we have discussed up to now to few bullet points. So regarding scattering facts, main points are summarized as you see here. Periodic arrangement of atoms in a crystal are responsible for scattering of X-rays in crystals. Okay, as per Bragg's law. The electrons present in each element are responsible for scattering of X-rays by crystalline materials. And electrons act as secondary point sources of X-rays. So remember, when we talk about atomic scattering factor, you have to remember it is actually the electrons present in that atom which are responsible for the scattering of X-rays. The overall scattering from a crystal is a logical sum of scattering of X-rays by each and every electron. Okay, so the scattering factor or form factor F of an atom is the logical sum of the scattering by all the electrons present in an atom. So the scattering factor of an atom is proportional to the atomic number of that atom. The scattering amplitude by a single electron is considered first with the variation of scattering angle. That is its relation with sine theta. An atom with an atomic number Z, that is consisting of Z number of electrons, have a definite power of scattering. It is termed as atomic scattering factor or form factor and is represented by small letter f, which is the sum of scattering amplitude from all the electrons present in the concerned atom. Okay, so scattering factor of an atom is equal to its atomic number. You have to remember the scattering angle has to be 0. 2 theta has to be 0. Okay. So the atomic scattering factor can be defined as atomic scattering factor F is equal to amplitude scattered by an atom divided by amplitude scattered by an electron. So scattering factor is the ratio between amplitude scattered by an atom and amplitude scattered by an electron. At zero scattering angle, that is when theta or 2 theta is equal to 0, the scattering waves are in phase and hence the scattered amplitude is a simple sum of contributions from all the electrons. That is, scattering factor F is equal to the atomic number when theta or 2 theta value is equal to 0 or sine theta is equal to 0. As the scattering angle theta increases, the scattering factor F reduces below the atomic number Z. This is due to more and more destructive interferences between all the electrons present, scattering from all the electrons present in the atom. Okay. So as scattering angle theta or 2 theta value increases, the scattering factor decreases. Hope it is clear.